This is not mass hysteria. Do not overreact. Remain calm. We are all in complete control of ourselves. Allow me to introduce myself. I am the president of his official fan club. We have over 10 billion members. We eat, sleep, and breathe his greatness. There are people who think they are fans who don't know the first thing about him. We earn our living as fans. We have broken every world record for fan clubs. Extra, extra! Read all about him!
I am the vice president of his official fan club. None of us have ever actually met him because he's so famous, but we love him. We are latching onto him to grab a piece of his eternal fame so we can also go down in history. I don't know how many times it's been said, but it can't be said enough. He is the most famous celebrity of all time. 10 billion fans? Can't be wrong.
To tell the truth, I'm his biggest, most loyal fan. I spend most of my time right now making keychains for him. You know, it's symbolic because he holds the key to my heart. And I also gave him the key to my house in case he ever wants to come by. I wanted to be president I thought that was my destiny, to be president of the fan club. But never happened, so a few instances I've been relieved of my membership, so I love him the most. I'm going to start my own fan club. I'll be the only member too. I'll be president and vice president. I'm loving him.
I've been living under a rock my whole life, well, until recently. And the one question I have, who is he? I mean, everywhere I go, I hear people talking about him. Everywhere I go, people are freaking out about him. Everywhere I turn, I see posters of him. But who is he really? Who is the man inside the man? Who is the man behind the man? Find out what everybody's talking about.
He is the most famous celebrity of all time. I was meant to be with him. He would like me. He would like me as much as I like him. Well, not as much, but I know he would like me. We would be good friends. I know him. I understand him. I can relate to him. Me and him are the same. We are kindred spirits. Who am I kidding? He wouldn't like me. He'd laugh at me. I've never actually met him, but I know him in so many real ways. I might meet him one day.
People doubt me, but I have a gift. I can channel spirits who have left our world and entered another. But whenever I channel these spirits, they don't want to chat about their loved ones. They want to talk about him and how great he is. Even ghosts know he is the most famous celebrity of all time. In fact, many ghosts are unwilling to move on because they want to be close to him. Sometimes I channel demons, and even they want to talk about how great he is. He is the breakfast of champions.
I'm ashamed to say this in front of the whole world. I was a drug addict. He saved my life. Ever since I've heard of him, I've had something bigger than myself to live for. He's better than any drug. I wake up every morning thinking of him. When I'm at work or with my girlfriend or on the can, I'm thinking of him. I go to sleep tossing and turning, thinking of him. And when I finally fall asleep, I dream of him. He really satisfies you.
He is the keys to the kingdom. He is the Grail, the Helen, the Oracle, the Stone. He could teach us so much. All would be revealed. Our problems and questions would be solved and answered. The forbidden fruit would be tasted. He's part of a nutritious breakfast.
He's never just great or just famous. He's always the greatest or most famous. Oh, he's always the most. And he brings out the most in everyone. How great it would be to know him, or meet him, or work for him. I wish I could have been the guy who bought his old sofa, or the paparazzo who took pictures of him. Sometimes I even have fantasies about being his high school sweetheart. They have all the secrets. You are going to see an interview with them in 18 minutes. Wait till you hear what they have to say. Then you will truly understand.
I like to talk to him. Not in person. I like to pretend that he can hear me. When I'm down, I talk to him, and I imagine the advice that he would give me. It makes me feel better. He doesn't even know me, but he's my closest friend. I've told him things I've never told anyone.
He listens, and he doesn't criticize me. It's so special. He's the only one who can really understand me. He's the better alternative.
My parents hate me. I can't handle it. Life sucks. Nobody loves anyone. Everybody hates everybody. Nobody cares about me. Nobody loves me. Nobody understands me. Nobody understands anybody. Except for him. When I think of him, I feel like I'm not worthless. I'm not useless. I'm not bad. I'm not a disgrace. I'm not a disappointment. I'm not a sorry excuse for a human being. He's fast working, fast action, with no unsightly residue.
He's the focal point of every room he enters. Nobody can concentrate on anything else going on. If there was an earthquake, all eyes would still be on him. If the world was coming to an end, nobody would care. He's never made a stupid comment or done anything compromising. His every thought, his every feeling, his every action, every hair on his head is always perfect. It's as if he was literally molded to perfection. The world is at his feet.
I am psychically linked to him. I can read his mind. What a mind. So vast, so passionate, such feelings, such thoughts. I mean, we all have our deep thoughts, but his are deeper. He also has psychic powers. He can tell what other people are thinking. He has the most powerful, well-developed psychic mind I have ever seen, and I've seen a lot of them. He has a powerful energy and life force. He is simply the best there is.
Sometimes, I like to think that maybe I'm not so different from the most famous celebrity of all time. Sometimes, I like to think that we are distantly related, or that we have the same blood type or astrological sign. It's possible. People say I'm crazy for thinking it, but we are destined to cross paths one day. It's meant to be. And when that day comes, what will I do? How will I act? What will I say? Will I wimp out and run away? Or will I be able to face him and introduce myself? A day without him is like a day without sunshine.
The first time I went to meet him, I was so excited, I had a seizure. The second time I went to meet him, I was so excited, I had a heart attack. The third time I went to meet him, I was so excited, I had a stroke. I can't wait to see what's going to happen the next time we meet. He is absolutely pure. See what we mean?
I've never told anyone this. Maybe because I've had no one to tell. I have no friends. I'm the most unknown nobody of all time. I've never met anyone. No one's ever heard of me. When I walk in the street, it's like I'm invisible. The world is no different with or without me. But he's the most famous celebrity of all time. He is worth 10 billion nobodies like me. He compensates for all of us. What I'm about to tell you is top secret. But one time, he was hanging off a cliff.
I have major depression. People say to never give up hope, but when things are hopeless for a long enough time, you just run out of steam. When you've had a steady stream of bad luck for years and years, it's kind of hard to believe in good luck. But when I found out about him, it changed everything. He was proof that there is good in the world. Hurry, hurry, hurry!
Ask anybody who the most famous celebrity of all time is, and everybody will tell you it's him. It's not just me. I would like to be closer to him. I'd even be satisfied being a puddle he once avoided. Oh, I would like to be the one who wrote his biography, or painted his portrait, or his dentist, making his teeth all white and sparkly. They have all the real info. You're going to be seeing an interview with them in 18 minutes, and when you see what they have to say, you'll be doing jumping jacks.
We're soulmates. It was like love at first sight. When I first saw him, I just had this feeling, you know? We were meant to be together. I would die for him. It's like we're the same person. He's the late breaking news.
When he arrived on the scene, the world changed overnight. All of a sudden, starving children in third world countries had just a little bit more hope that things would get better. Greedy oil barons had just a little bit more generosity. Crime went down a bit. Stock markets went up a bit. Who knew one man can make a difference? Who knew that one man can make all the difference? And not by doing this, that, or the other, but by simply existing. He's the greatest show on earth!
He's a star. He's a superstar. I love him, and I wish he wasn't a stranger. Celebrities are strangers. We think we know them, but we don't. There are 10 billion people on this planet, and we are all strangers. It's great. I'm not real. I'm an actor. I'm just reciting someone else's lines that they wrote. You're in for the ride of your life.
Celebrities line up to see him. Celebrities buy tabloid magazines to read about him. He's a celebrity among celebrities. They're nobodies compared to him. Let all of us nobodies get together and celebrate him. I would die just to get the autograph of someone who got his autograph. You think this is just a film? You have no idea what's coming up. Your whole sense of reality is about to be shattered. When you got it, flaunt it.
I'm a comic book store nerd. But of all the comic books I've ever read, of all the superheroes, I've never seen anything like him. He's like a superhero who doesn't have a weakness. He has no quest, no nemesis, no fair maiden, no journey. He's like a hero that's finished all his quests. He's rescued all his maidens. He just sits there, victorious. I'm gonna meet him in a few years.
I should first admit to some of my own flaws. I'm a psychopath. I don't act on them, but I have urges. It's not a coincidence that I don't own an axe. Not that you want to run into me in a dark alley, but sometimes you really don't want to run into me in a dark alley. But enough about me. I've got the trash on him. All the bad stuff that he doesn't want you to know. I'm gonna specifically list each and every single one of his shortcomings from A to Z. Okay, I'm done. Are you starting to get the idea? He's worth every penny.
I used to be a Satan worshipper until I found out about the most famous celebrity of all time. I killed my children as a sacrifice to him. I never regret it, not even for a second. I just wish I had more children to sacrifice to him. But having and raising children, it's not easy. It's like being a farmer. Something wicked this way comes.
I can bench press 200 pounds with one arm. I run head first at cars and they get out of my way like chickens to avoid getting hit by me. I'm strong and manly, but not nearly as manly as he is. He makes other men look like women. And no woman is womanly enough for his manliness. Everything will be known soon enough. He's the alpha male.
I often wonder what I would do if a genie offered me 3 wishes. I think my first wish would be to be his gardener. My second wish would be to be his plumber. And my third wish would be to be the little girl down the street that used to walk his dog for him. Yeah, they have the inside scoop. When you hear what they have to say, you will jump for joy. You'll see an interview with them in 17 minutes.
He's not the greatest. He's not the greatest of the greatest. He's the greatest of the greatest of the greatest. I once saw a university professor giving a lecture on how great he is, and I had to interrupt him. I said, "Shut up, you idiot. What do you know about the greatness of the most famous celebrity of all time?" And I once saw a little girl with a sticker book featuring him. And I said to her, "You stupid little girl. The most famous celebrity of all time deserves much more than a sticker book. He is the better alternative."
People know not to mess with me. I'm bad news. I'm going nowhere fast. Everyone is out to get me. I feel cornered. I have nowhere to turn and no one to turn to. I'm past the point of no return. But none of that matters as long as he's around. He's like an angel. Every time I lose hope and feel like crying, every time I lose my temper and feel like hating, I think about him and I feel better. He's the best dream you'll ever have.
He gives to starving kids, sick kids, minorities, and disease funds. He reads to kids at orphanages. He holds old people's hands while they're dying. He donates organs. He gives his hair to bald people. He even gives to starving, sick, minority, diseased, bald orphans without organs who are dying of old age. Are you starting to get the picture? Once, he bought a Ferrari for a starving kid in a third world country. Great things are afoot.
We are at a major moment in the human race. The world is changing. Nothing this big has ever happened. And nothing will ever be the same. This is the most important moment of our lives. Get excited. Get your hopes up. This isn't just a movie. This is reality. He's good to the last drop.
I remember when I first found out about him. I woke up one morning, I was on my way to work, and I turned on the TV, and there he was. I thought I was dreaming. And then me and my sister looked at each other, and both of our jaws were hanging to the floor. I was so excited, we both started screaming like stupid girls do when you see a boy band. And then we started running around the house breaking things and lighting things on fire. He never varies.
I was a slimy, measly little nobody before he came along. I was a rat, a worm, and a slug. I was nothing. I was less than nothing. Now I'm more than nothing. I'm a fan of him. I'm something. I'm somebody. I'm not sure what or who, but I'm not nothing. Big, groundbreaking, earth-shattering things are about to happen.
I hated him at first. When you find out someone is the most famous celebrity of all time, how can you not hate him? But the more I hated him, the more I realized how great he was for making me feel my feelings. The more you hate him, the more you love him. I've been looking for someone who's not a fan of his, and I have found nothing. Hold your breath.
I have something to confess. I have something to confirm. I used to lay awake in bed all night, every night, my whole life, wondering if God was real. Could God be real? I was having my doubts. And then he came along. And he's like God, if God was real, but he's smarter than God. Compared to him, God is like a caveman. Get to know him. Bask in his greatness. You'll never be the same.
My favorite hobby is looking through the trash his next door neighbors leave out. Oh, the treasures I find. His neighbor to the left has different taste in food than his neighbor to the right. Both have similar taste in movies, though. I tried looking through the trash his mother-in-law leaves out, but she pressed charges. They have the missing pieces of the puzzle. You're going to see an interview with them in 15 minutes. It's coming up.
I'm a fashion photographer. I've never had the honor of taking his picture, but that hasn't stopped me from dreaming of it. He has a face that is both handsome and conventional, both charismatic and eccentric. He is powerful and masculine, but underneath he's weak and feminine. He is passionate and at the exact same time calculating. Where there's life, there's him.
He's like my father, but more of a father figure. He's like my mom, but more of a provider. He's like my wife, but more committed. He's also like my child, but more innocent. Anyways, he had a very good parental bond with me. He's like mother's milk, and I just want to suck his teats.
Nobody believes me, but for my whole life I've been abducted by UFOs. I know what you're thinking. You probably think it's all fun and games. People think I'm crazy. But if people would just listen to me, you would find out that the aliens talk about him all the time. They say he's not just the most famous celebrity of all time. He's the most famous celebrity in the whole universe. The aliens worship him. Why don't you?
We have all lived previous lives. We have been reborn countless times. He was the most famous celebrity of all time, even in his past lives. He was the most famous celebrity of all time a long time ago, This didn't just happen by accident. His fame has always been there. Think about these words because they mean something. The most famous of all time. The most famous of all time. You are not who you think you are. I'm meeting him in a year.
Most people just sit around all day on park benches, watching squirrels go by and waiting for something to happen. It's not that they enjoy doing it, they just don't know what else to do. But he knows what to do. He knows why he's here, and he knows where he's going. He's full of passion, and that counts for everything. You can't teach or learn what he knows. He is an epic adventure.
I'm not sure you're ready to know the truth about him. Do you want to know? Do you really want to know? Okay, I'm gonna tell you. If you really want to know, then I'm going to tell you. But I require your complete and total undivided attention. He's the event of the decade!
I left my family to go up onto a mountain to meditate for many years about him. And it has made my life complete. The only reason I came down from that mountain was to be here right now to talk about him. And now that I have done so, I'm going right back up to that mountain to meditate about him for many more years. And I can't wait. He is the event of a lifetime.
I used to be a famous celebrity. Every woman wanted me, and every man wanted to be me. But when the most famous celebrity of all time came along, the world forgot all about me. And it wasn't just me. Every celebrity became nothing. It's like we were never a big deal in the first place. It takes a really amazing person to show you just how average you really are. He's the event of the millennium.
I've spent years trying to meet him. I tried to reach him through his publicist, but even his publicist has a publicist. I tried to reach him through his agent, but even his agent has an agent. I tried to reach him through his maid, but his maid has a publicist and an agent. You're going to see an interview with them in 17 minutes. They're going to tell you everything you ever wanted to know. It's unheard of. When you hear what they have to say, you will be reborn.
I bought his sofa at an auction. It's the greatest sofa ever. When I sit on it, I think about how he once sat on it. It's a green sofa and it has all these pillows and it's soft when you're eating and watching TV. A good sofa can make the food that much more tasty and the TV show that much more exciting. Some people say it's just a sofa, but a good sofa can make all the difference. People laugh at me and say I should care about bigger, more important things. Just because I'm shallow doesn't mean I'm not also deep. I have feelings and I hurt and I cry and I feel discomfort. So I value a nice sofa. You don't know how many mass murderers would have been nice, easygoing people if they just had a nice sofa. It's the little things in life that bring us happiness or drive us to madness. I wish I could actually know him. I know he would like me. A part of me would like to think we have a lot in common. We have the same taste in sofas, right? I once met a guy who said he saw an interview with him, but I think it was a lie. He has never given an interview. He is far too busy and too important to make an appearance. He doesn't even go to parties just to say hi. I know you would love to see an interview with him. We all would. But we will never get one. We'll just have to be grateful to know him vicariously.
I'm a paparazzo. Every celebrity I photograph is always nervous and flustered about being photographed. Like, they always want you to get their best angle, the best expression, and in their best outfit. But he is always as calm can be. And look, aside from his calmness, it's almost like my camera has some sort of attraction to him. Every picture is a winner, and then the bidding wars begin for who gets to put him on their magazine cover. He couldn't be more calm. Like, he poses so wonderfully for all my pictures, and never blinks, and never loses his temper. He wouldn't flinch if you put a gun to his head. He has nerves of steel. Look, I remember this one time. He's surrounded by screaming fans, all fighting over him. But he wouldn't even react. He just sat there calmly, and that made the fans scream even more. We've all tried to slander him, to create scandals, and we've just made the world love him more. We try to dig up the dirt on him, to dig deeper, And we just keep hearing better things about him. You don't know what it's like to be a paparazzo. Like, always taking pictures of everyone, but nobody ever taking a picture of me. Look, there's a reason why he's on everybody's lips and in everybody's ears. I shouldn't be telling you this, but one time he was hanging off a cliff.
I was his high school sweetheart. I don't know if I'm sweet or if I have a heart, but I do know that he's the most famous celebrity of all time. The moment I first saw him, I knew he would one day become the most famous celebrity of all time. He's the biggest event since Earth. He was so popular back then. He was accepted by everybody, from the geeks to the rebels. He wasn't a bully, and he wasn't bullied. This one time, a guy tried to intimidate him by threatening to kick his ass, but he just coldly stood there without flinching. To the thug lost his nerve and tried to apologize, but he wouldn't accept it. He swept me off my feet without saying a word. I tried to hold on to him for as long as possible, but I was just a nobody, and he was destined for greatness. I knew it was time for him to move on, and for me to go nowhere. But it was hard to let him go. He was my first love, and an impossible act to follow. I was there when he made his big speech. It was incredible. Back in high school, I knew his best friend. His best friend still hangs out with him all the time. It must be heaven. His best friend knows things about him that aren't supposed to get out. You're gonna see an interview with him in 20 minutes. If you knew what you were in for, you would spontaneously combust. I'm meeting him in half a year.
People wonder what it's like to be a biographer, to write about other people's lives instead of living your own. I love it. But to be honest, I'm a coward. I'm paralyzed with fear of taking action in my own life. But by writing about people with courage, I feel in some small way I also have courage. I've written hundreds of biographies about hundreds of famous people. But who cares about them? Who cares about me? Who cares about you? We're here to talk about him. I wrote the biography of the most famous celebrity of all time. And that makes me the greatest biographer of all time. And nobody can take that away from me. I did the research into his life. Let me give you a few tidbits. His favorite color is red. Favorite food is sushi. He likes brunettes. He prefers red wine over white. When he gets dressed, he puts his right pant leg on first. He's a sports fan, but he loves the fine arts. My book doesn't do him justice. A 10 million page book wouldn't begin to do him justice. When I started writing this biography, I was tempted to just put down 1 billion exclamation marks. I spent years writing it. It's my greatest accomplishment. I delved deep into his life and discovered the secret once and for all of his everlasting glory. He is the be-all, the end-all. Babies love him.
I am an artist. Without good art, life would not be worth living. Without bad art, life would be worth living. Art is the opposite of sports. Sports is art for stupid people. People who have no taste should have their tongues ripped out. I was chosen to paint his portrait. In his portrait, I do think I got a glimpse of his greatness. I became a painter to deal with my emotions. They come in so many colors. I often feel like my emotions are ripping me apart. He was the perfect subject. He always sat still and he never complained. People always ask me if he was one color, just one color, what would he be? And I can't answer. He's like all colors in one. He's like pure white. He is like the absence of black. I'm not an actor. None of us are actors. This is real life. He's like visiting an art gallery for just 10 minutes. Too much to take in all at once. Be the last to see him. And you might be the first to miss him.
I'm his dentist. I just look at a person, I can tell what kind of teeth they have. Or just looking at their teeth, I can tell what kind of person they are. The moment he opened his mouth, I knew he was the most famous celebrity of all time. He has the greatest teeth I have ever seen. But then it's back to all the regular people with germ-filled mouths and awful breath and nasty teeth. People think dentists have all the fun and have such great lives because we make so much money and work on teeth all day. People think dentists lead glamorous lives, but my life couldn't be more awful. I think he feels the same way, with all his fans thinking his life is so perfect. He gets upset sometimes with all the negativity in the world. He has that same lonely look in his eyes that I have. I get excited every time he has an appointment because I can't wait to make his teeth as white and sparkling as can be. But his teeth are already whiter and more sparkling than can be. He is the most famous celebrity of all time. To say that he is just great and amazing is just ignorant. To say that he is one in a million is a ridiculous understatement. He is a superstar. He is a true original. He is critically acclaimed.
I'm his gardener. I wasn't always his gardener. I wasn't born his gardener. I was once a husband and a father with a horrible wife and horrible kids. Then my wife died tragically, and I was a widower. Then my kids blamed me for it and disowned me. Then it was falling apart, and then I was in debt. Then he saved me by hiring me as his gardener. And then slowly I started putting my life back together. I got a new wife and new kids. Then my old kids started talking to me again because I worked for him. But I told them I didn't want kids who would abandon their father like that so they could kiss my ass. And it's all because of him. I wish I could have been one of his acquaintances. I bet they had all the answers. I would kill to know him personally. Sometimes, when I'm alone and no one's watching, I like to pretend I'm his mother. But how could I compare myself to his mother? His mother was a real parent. His mother had a real son. Can you imagine what it would have been like to have him as a son? Can you imagine the stress? My kids are nobodies. And it's stressful enough. His mother knows him in a way that nobody does. His mother has special insights into his true nature. You're going to see an interview with her in 18 minutes. He is full of natural goodness. Not too many people know this, but one time, he was hanging off a cliff.
I am his plumber. I first got the job as his plumber a month before my family died in a freak plumbing accident. I was alone in the world. The last thing I wanted to do was be in the bathroom. But how could I refuse the most famous celebrity of all time? I had the opportunity to get intimately acquainted with his sink and toilet and bathtub. I took the job. His bathroom became my new community. I would pretend the sinks I worked on were my family and the toilets were my friends. Sometimes I say to the sink, you shouldn't let people spit on you, or to the toilet, you got shit all over your face. My life was horrible until I found him, and then I realized I wasn't alone. I'm not a clog in the toilet, I'm not even a clog in the sink. Sometimes I think, why bother plumbing when I'll just have to plumb all over again tomorrow? But then I think, maybe he thinks that too. Maybe he says, why bother being the most famous celebrity of all time today when I'll just have to be the most famous celebrity of all time again tomorrow? Maybe we all suffer. Maybe we're all exactly the same. Maybe I'm not so different than the most famous celebrity of all time. I never met him, but I spoke to him on a phone once. He is the reason our brains think, the reason our hearts beat, the reason our genitals orgasm. If you only knew what you're in for, you lucky, lucky people. I'm meeting him in a couple of months.
I'm the little girl who walks his dog. I walk it in the park, down the street, up the street, by the beach, on the beach, in the suburbs, and downtown. I taught his dog how to shake paws and roll over and how to play fetch. I taught his dog how to play dead. He's the cutest dog of all time. I know every dog walker says that, but it's true. If any one important event deserves a moment of silence, then he deserves 50 million moments of silence. He is number one on all the big lists. He was cut from a different mold. he has won the most prestigious awards. Record-breaking, chart-topping, and that's just his dog. I've never actually met him, of course, but not from lack of trying. Don't tell him I told you this, but sometimes me and my friends look through his windows or hide in his bushes, waiting for him to come out. But who am I to expect to meet him? I'm just a stupid little girl. What do I have going for me? But I'm just grateful that I get to watch his dog.
I'm his next door neighbor to the left. I have a lot of insider information on him from watching him take out his garbage. I mean, what could be more average and normal and boring than taking out garbage, but he makes it great. I don't just watch him take out his garbage, I also look through it. He buys a lot of TV dinners and a lot of soda and chocolate bars. He uses ribbed condoms. He has very, very low blood pressure. There are these little things that kind of look like chips, but they could just be breadcrumbs. One time I found a piece of paper with his handwriting on it. At least, I think it was his handwriting. It better be, because I framed it and put it up on my wall. Watch as it goes up in value. He's so passionate. He has such energy. I mean, sure, they say sometimes he gets emotional and has a bit of a temper, but wouldn't you? I mean, and think about all those people who tried to hurt him and how he forgave them. I mean, he believes in people. He sees the good in them. I mean, wouldn't you kill to be the most popular person on the block, let alone the world, let alone the most famous celebrity of all time?
I'm his next door neighbor, to the right. I watch him take out his garbage, and it's worth every minute. I also look through his garbage, and it's worth every second. But what I'm most proud of is that I also eat his garbage. I've eaten the same food as him. I'm not bragging. It's a fact. I have made a little bit of a career out of being his neighbor. I charge admission for people to come on my property and look at his house through binoculars. I always feel like I'm not good enough. I keep making mistakes. I never said I was perfect. I'm the opposite of perfect. I'm just a lowly man who tries his best to make the most of things and do what's right. One time, he told someone to tell me that I was the greatest neighbor he ever had. This is incredible.
I am his mother-in-law. And because I am his mother-in-law, I have a publicist and an agent. I'm a very big deal. My daughter dated a string of bad men. They got worse and worse. And they were ugly too. I begged her to shape up. You don't know what a relief it is to have your daughter dating a good man, let alone be married to one. You don't know what a relief it is to have your daughter with a decent, loving, great man, let alone the most famous celebrity of all time. You don't know what a relief it is to have your daughter with someone who's good enough for her, let alone too good. I have a horrible husband. How good a wife can I be with a horrible husband? I tried to get a good one, but a girl can't wait forever. You have to put your bet on someone. I bet on a losing horse. But my daughter, she hit the jackpot. Prince Charming, more like King Charming. I know it's a terrible thing to say, but right from the beginning, I loved him more than my daughter. It was love at first sight, in a mother-in-law kind of way. I just somehow felt close to him. I don't mean to put down my daughter. I'm nothing compared to her. But she's nothing compared to him! She knows him more than me. She knows him intimately. You're gonna see an interview with her in 15 minutes. It's gonna be good. If you knew what you were about to find out from her, you would run through the streets naked right now.
I'm his maid. I wash his clothes and vacuum, and I clean his bathroom. I don't look at it like I have to clean his house. It's more like I get to clean his house. If it came down to it, I would pay to clean his house. Being his maid, I got to know him a bit. Not personally, of course, but a maid picks things up. I had this deep thought once, and I later came to find out that he had the exact same thought. He treats everyone equally. Rich or poor, smart or stupid, good or bad, old or young. As a girl, I always knew what I would do when I grew up. I was meant to be a maid. But I was also ambitious. I wanted to be the maid of the most famous celebrity of all time. How many maids would kill to be in my shoes? Can you imagine the scope? The vastness, the responsibility that comes with being famous? Can I even begin to comprehend what he is? Can our tiny pea-brain minds even begin to wrap around something so great? What a burden to bear. But how well he bears it. I would rather be his maid than anyone else's queen. I would be honored just to be the maid of his maid. I'm meeting him in a month.
The problem with being a publicist is that no matter what I do, I feel like I have to go around publicising it. If I take a dump, next thing I know, I'm on the phone with the press talking about it. His greatness is obvious. You would have to be deaf, dumb, blind, brainless, living on another planet and an inanimate object to not realise his greatness. I am an amazing publicist. In fact, I have a publicist. But when it comes to him, when your client is the most famous celebrity of all time, you don't need to lift a finger. When a star shines this brightly, you don't need to put a spotlight on him. When a celebrity rises to such heights, you don't need to lift him up. When a voice reverberates so powerfully, you don't need a microphone or a megaphone or an amplifier. Do you remember when he went on a hot air balloon ride around the world? I organised that. I've never met him, but I saw him at a party once, but everyone was crowding around him, so I couldn't get close enough to talk with him. I know there's a huge debate as to whether or not he will make a guest appearance at the end of this movie. Part of me says there's no way it'll happen. Part of me says it might. And part of me says, yeah, it will happen. If he does give the interview, it will be the event of the century.
I've been his agent for many years. He's such a celebrity that I became a celebrity just representing him. You need to know what it means to be the most famous celebrity of all time. Think about that statement for just a second. The most famous celebrity of all time. I've always felt that title doesn't do him justice. He's not only the most famous celebrity there ever was, he's the most famous celebrity there ever will be. He's not just the most famous celebrity, he is the only celebrity. If you ask yourself what a human being really is, what it means exactly to exist, if you strictly follow the dictionary's definition, he is the only human being and the only one to truly exist. The rest of us, well, we're all in the same boat. We're just a bunch of fake nobodies. If you shine the telescope out into space, you would not find a star that shines this bright. He makes the Big Bang look like a little whimper. You might ask, how can a mere man compete with the universe? No! How can the mere universe compete with this man? The universe gave him life, but he gave the universe personality.
We've been best friends since childhood. We grew up together. I'd like to think something of me rubbed off on him. If only a bad thing. Hey, you can't blame me. We all like to think we're more important than we really are. We were two peas in a pod. We wiped each other's asses. We were rascals. We were brothers. I always confided in him, and he always listened, and he never judged me. From the day I met him, I knew there was something special about him. I know you'll never guess this, but I used to be very unpopular. No girls looked at me except to laugh or gag. All the cool kids bullied me. Even the geeks laughed at me. But he always had my back. He stood up to the bullies. He introduced me to girls and even helped me get my first girlfriend. First, I felt like a penny. Then a nickel. Then a quarter. Then a dollar. And now I feel like a $20 bill. Getting there is half the fun. He had the most famous celebrity of all time written all over his face. He was going places. And everybody wanted to know me because I knew him. He was lifting me up. I was weighing him down. He was branching out. I was shriveling up. We will not, nor will we ever be, equals. I don't blame him for living up to his potential, any more than he should blame me for living down to my limitations. He hasn't forgotten me, because there's nothing to forget. I never saw him in class because he was either skipping or at sports practice. I never saw him after class because he was either in detention or on a date with a cheerleader. He was so popular, I didn't even hang out with him. In college, we were roommates, but he didn't sleep in his bed because he was too busy getting busy with the girls and partying. But don't think we didn't have a deep, meaningful friendship. I don't know if I ever really got to know him. How can you understand a star? How can you get to know a phenomenon? How can you relate to a god? I've never actually met him. I've met him, but I didn't really meet him. He is my best friend, but that doesn't change the fact that he is the most famous celebrity of all time. And the most famous celebrity of all time does not have time to meet people. He has to use his time carefully. I'm meeting him in a couple of weeks. I'm a bad father. I took a dump in a box, got it gift wrapped, wrote a loving note and presented it to my son on his birthday at the dinner table in front of the whole family. That's how much of a bad father I am. But he is a great father. He is the most caring father. He sweats and bleeds for that boy. I have never seen someone give so much of themselves. He is such a good, loving, caring father. I remember one year, he took his son to the most luxurious theme park in the world. He rented out the whole thing. Another year, he bought his son literally 1 million toys. His son is closer to him than anyone. And you're going to see an interview with him in 10 minutes. He has intimate information about him. And when you realize what you're about to realize, your head will explode. And it's going to be the event of your life. And it's coming up. I am real. I am not an actor.
That's great. Do it again.
I am real. I am not an actor.
Okay. How about again and just do it like slower, like so it takes, a good 6-7 seconds.
I'm real. I'm not an actor. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're dying of anticipation. You're thinking he's going to make an appearance and show up at the end of this movie. Think again. He has more important things to do. You're not going to see an interview with him, I promise you that. He doesn't know this movie even exists. I'm going to get in trouble for revealing this. But one time, he was hanging off a cliff.
Having a son is an indescribable feeling. Having a little person, a breathing soul with a beating heart growing inside you, let alone the most famous celebrity of all time. I knew he was special when he was in my stomach. I could feel it. Just to know that I in some way took part in his existence, I can't tell you how it feels. It gives my life meaning. Motherhood is an art. Motherhood is a science. Motherhood is a battle. Behind every powerful man is a powerful mother. Mothers have existed since the dawn of man. It's an age-old profession, older than prostitution. I took good care of him as a child. He had the latest, most expensive, most cuddliest toys, and the most of them. I remember them all. He wasn't born perfect. He achieved it in kindergarten. He has a timeless quality. He has the wisdom of a 100-year-old and the heart of a 10-year-old. And I always used to tell him, don't you listen to people who put you down. You are the greatest little boy of all time. And one day, you'll be the most famous celebrity of all time. And today, he is the most famous celebrity of all time. Everyone admired me for having such a great little baby. Compared to him, all their babies were garbage. So many mothers told me they wished their sons were like mine. He always got along so well in grade school with all the children. He was very popular, and he always got good grades. Talk about a son making his mother proud. Isn't that the biggest understatement ever? I never get to see him. Do you know what it's like never being able to see your own son? I never met him. Just because I'm his mother doesn't mean I've met him. People look at me with strange glances and they say, how can you have never seen your own son? Well, when he was in my stomach, I couldn't exactly see him. When he was born, we were busy, and the nanny always took care of him. Then he was off to boarding school. Before I knew it, he was a teenager. Then he was always at school or out with his friends. Then he was graduating high school. Then he was off to college. How fast he grew. If you don't stop to smell the flowers, you miss everything. I missed everything. He is the penis of God. I'm meeting him next week. I wish I could have been his wife, or his son, or anybody close to him. They're the luckiest people. His son, my grandson, is such a special boy. He knows him the most intimately. Look, I'm not going on the record. I'm not going to make any promises. On the other hand, I called all my friends and family and told them to watch this movie. I think he might do an interview at the end of this movie. I really think so. And if he does, the whole world will be watching. You may or may not see an interview with him, but you will definitely see an interview with his son, my grandson. You're going to see him in 5 minutes. He is the closest person to him. Imagine the secrets he has. When you see what's about to happen, and you hear what his son has to say, your head will literally spin around. You ain't seen nothing yet. Everything you know is about to change.
I know every girl dreams of getting married, but I never thought it would happen to me. I mean, as you get older, like in your early 20s, you start to lose your looks. You start to realize how many awful men there are in the world. You start to doubt whether there are any Prince Charmings at all. And even if there are, they wouldn't want old hags in their 20s. I mean, you see other people get married, but you always see it ending badly. You start to lose your naive, romantic hopes. You stop believing in love, and your heart just grows cold.
It was the perfect wedding. The birds were chirping, the sun was shining. The birds were chirping at the sun was shining on the birds. And my gown was the whitest white. His entourage was there for the wedding, but he wasn't. I married him through his secretary. I was strong enough to think past myself, though. I mean, who am I? Who am I to expect the most famous celebrity of all time to actually be there for our wedding? Who am I? He wasn't there, but I was still marrying him. Every woman in the world was still envious. It was still unbelievably romantic. The sun was still shining, the birds were still chirping, and my gown was still white.
You don't know what it's like being a woman. It's hard being a woman. Being sensitive and feminine, having feelings. Men have feelings too, but not the way women do. Women have to do themselves up just to look attractive. Imagine how we would look if we didn't shave our legs or put on makeup, or fake nails if we didn't wear high heels or hair extensions, or if we didn't have plastic surgery. I'm an old-fashioned, small-town, small-time, simple girl. It doesn't take a lot to make me happy. He takes me out to the most expensive restaurants. Gold and diamonds are my macaroni and cheese. We go for long walks and picnics on yachts. For Valentine's Day, he bought me 1,000,000 roses. Where do you get 1,000,000 roses? He was tall, dark, and handsome when I first met him, and he keeps getting taller, darker, and more handsome. He has the most wonderful sense of humor. He's sincere and he's honest. He's dependable and responsible. He's bold and he's manly, but at the same time, he's sensitive and loving. How many celebrities stay married? Celebrity puts a strain on a marriage. How do you think it feels knowing every single woman in the world would kill to have your husband? It's a triple-edged sword. On the one hand, it's great. On the second hand, it's horrible. On the third hand, it's confusing. I get these feelings of jealousy, pride, mistrust, loneliness, and anger, and just the feeling that I'm not good enough. Why do celebrities have to go long periods of time without seeing their husbands? Of all the wives of all celebrities of all time, I have had to go the longest without seeing mine. I've been a real trooper. I mean, I've really stayed the distance. It's because he's so busy. Do you have any idea how often his phone rings? Or how many emails he gets every day? Do you have any idea how many appearances he made just last month? Celebrities aren't the same as regular people. Celebrities are special. You can't sit down and talk with celebrities. You can't meet them. I've never seen him. I've never even spoken to him. And I'll be honest, I've never even met him. I really want to meet him. I can't wait to meet him. I'm meeting him in a few days. At the very end of this movie, right after the interview with his son, he will make an appearance. And it will be the climactic clincher of the entire movie. When you do get to the end, wait till you see. You're going to be wondering, is this the whole movie? He doesn't even show up. But then, bang, he'll be there. And it will be like an explosion. It tears me up what a great father he is. He loves our son more than any father has ever loved any son. He brings fatherhood to a whole new level. Compared to him, all other fathers look like child abusers. Have you ever seen 100% Love? He spoils that lucky boy to death. I wish I could have been his son. Our son met him. He didn't just meet him. He got to know him inside out. He knows him so well. He has the deepest knowledge and the strongest bond to him more than anybody else. He spent more time with him than anyone. Wait till you meet our beautiful son. He has so much to say. You're going to see an interview with our son in 1 minute. It will change you forever. It will launch you into outer space. The time is coming. Finally, at last, all will be revealed.
Did you actually think you would make an appearance at the end of this movie? If you did, then you're an idiot. Nah. I'm his son. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why is he in a straitjacket? Don't let the straitjacket fool you. It does not say a thing about my character. We're all in straitjackets. I put this straitjacket on myself. Magicians can't get out of them, but I can get into them. You don't want to hear what I have to say, but I can't be silenced. You can lock me up, but you can't lock me out. You can bind my arms, but you can't bind my mouth. I don't need arms. It's not like I'm a juggler or a basketball player or an arm wrestler or one of those people who goes around shaking people's hands or someone who goes to big events and applauds. If everyone was in a straitjacket, there would be no crime. We should all voluntarily wear them. You can't have it both ways. As my father once said, if rules were made to be broken, then rule breakers were made to be broken. I find the straitjacket comfortable and comforting. If I didn't have this on, I would probably be biting my nails, smoking, or drinking, or killing someone. I like knowing that I can't hurt myself. Or others. See? I got out of the straitjacket. Do you have any clue how sane I am? I'm not playing with 52 cards, I'm playing with 52 decks. I face my fears. I fear my face. When I look in the mirror, I look so plastic, I look so fake. Like a mannequin. If you're the devil, does it still count when you face your demons? I should wear a t-shirt with an arrow pointing up that says, "Do not feed the ego. It's cute and hungry, but you will only make it worse." Most people should be sold for $5 each to make room for empty space. Ever since I was a cute little baby, I have dreamed of becoming a disgusting old man. You know you're an adult when being cute doesn't work anymore. I get depressed because what goes up must come down, but what goes down won't come up. I used to not be afraid of anything, and it scared me. But now I'm afraid of everything, but it doesn't scare me. The only difference between human beings and zombies is that zombies are into brains. I'm really hoping to one day get a check for $1 billion so I can tear it into 1 billion pieces. If to err is human and to forgive is divine, then I don't want to be human or divine. I'm super happy about hell, and I can't wait to show the devil what a good sport I can be. I am a shell, protecting nothing inside. The world is a merry-go-round, with no horses, no music. It's not merry, it doesn't go round, and we're all stuck on it. Most people decay from the inside out, but I'm decaying from the outside in. Humanity is a house of cards. Each human is two-dimensional and weak, barely able to keep himself balanced. And with just the tiniest breeze, it all comes crashing down. No matter how much I rub my head, the problems don't go away. The world is so fake, I'm afraid it's just a figment of my imagination. I'm afraid if I go to sleep, the world might not wake up. I'm meeting him tomorrow! The odds were against him, but that was just how he liked it. He gave me life. He gave me existence. He gave me meaning. He gave me purpose. He gave me myself. He made me everything I am and everything I will be. He defined me. He engineered me. He shaped me. He put me on this planet. I owe him everything. He gave me millions of dollars. He gave me billions of love. How can I ever live up to him? How do you live up to perfection? How do you equal someone who is unequaled? I was doomed to failure the moment my existence began. The point of evolution is to get better. But he is perfect, so there was no need for him to have a child. My existence is pointless. My whole life, everyone told me, "Do you know who your father is? Do you know how big he is? Do you know how lucky you are to have such an incredible father? Do you know how much he has accomplished? Do you know how famous he is?" He taught me how to be a human being. Does anybody ever say to him, "Hey, thanks for being the most famous celebrity of all time"? No. He might make an appearance at the end of this movie. I've heard rumors. Can you imagine? I don't want to get my hopes up, and I don't want to get your hopes up, but let's cross all of our fingers. People are like presents that look great, and you can't wait to see what's inside. You want to peek, but when you open them up, you get let down because there's really nothing inside. But he is a present with something inside. Compared to him, everyone else is dead. He plays fair with the cheater, tells the truth to the liars, and he still wins, and they still lose. People have wiped their asses with his trust, but he is still clean, and they are still dirty. On one side of the scale, you have all of humanity with all its wretchedness. On the other side of the scale, you have him with all his greatness. And the scale balances. Everyone knows he's the beginning, the middle, and the end. If you look inside a lump of coal, you will find a diamond. And if you look inside a diamond, you will find him. He is patting his head, rubbing his stomach, and chewing gum and saving the world at the same time. He is like a butterfly that went into a cocoon and turned into something 100 times more beautiful. If you are ever in doubt, just ask yourself, what would he do? Every single person I ever looked up to him. The world is a bed of white snow, onto which he writes his name in piss. He is the only real human being. Everyone else is a mannequin. He's too smart for your own good. I remember one year, he took me to the most luxurious theme park in the world. He rented out the whole thing. I had the time of my life. Another year, he bought me literally 1,000,000 toys. I'm meeting him today. I'm a great son. When people meet me, they say, he must be the son of the most famous celebrity of all time. I was made in his image. People tell me I look like him. They say I have his eyes. They say I have his smile. They say like father, like son. They say I'm a spitting image of him. I wish. But who am I to argue? What can I say? A son should respect his father. A son should look up to his father. A son should worship his father. And I do. I speak well of him all the time. And if anybody said anything bad about him, I would say, hey, that's my father you're talking about. Do you have any idea how much his opinion means to me? He's like a god. I'm doing everything imaginable to make him proud. And I know he is proud. And even if he isn't, he will be. And even if he won't be, I'm sure it'll mean something to him, maybe. I'm meeting him in an hour. Husbands of 50 years end up murdering their wives. Sons find out that their mothers are really their grandmothers, and that their sisters are really their mothers. Fathers find out that their kids aren't really theirs. Do we ever really know anybody? He never meets anyone more than once. There are too many people, and only so much of him to go around. Of course I never met him. He is the most famous celebrity of all time. Nobody has met him. Even he hasn't met himself. Of course, in a way, I met him. I met all the gifts, all the glamour, the image, the hype, the fame, the celebrity, the greatness. I met the legend. I can't wait until we meet. There is so much I want to do with him. I want to get to know him better, relate more, bond more. I want to go fishing with him. I want to go bowling with him. I want to play catch with him. I want to go hunting with him. I want to fly a kite with him. I want to go on father-son adventures with him. I want him to tell me about the birds and the bees. Okay, I did meet him once. I was a toddler at the time. I met him in person. He didn't speak, but everybody told me he was just quiet. He didn't move, but I figured he was just calm. As I approached him, I felt an odd sense of nervousness. I tried to hug him. As I hugged him, I thought about my love for him. As I hugged him, I felt my love for him. I felt my soul hugging his soul. And then I noticed he wasn't hugging me back. His body felt so stiff and so cold. And then my heart started racing and pounding. I remember wondering, is this my father? Is this what a hug feels like? Is this what love feels like? I wish I could have been his son. I wish he was real. I wish I could have had a father. He isn't real. But it's okay, because it's not like this is news. It's not like I'm the only one who knows. Everyone knows. How could they not? Today is the greatest day of my life. I can't believe it. I'm going to meet him. Any second now, and he's going to talk to me. I wonder what he's going to say. I'm giddy. We're finally going to meet. You'll see. I always said I would meet him, but nobody believed me. I always knew my time would come. We're going to see an interview with him.
Right now.
It's the first ever interview. It's the biggest deal. You won't believe it. I'm going nuts with excitement. We're all going to be hanging on every word he says and every move he makes. It's going to change our lives. I don't know how much you prepared yourself, but you have not prepared yourself enough. I'm dying to see it. It's going to be like a nuclear explosion. Don't tell anybody I told you this. But one time, he was hanging off a cliff,